Well, welcome to Christian Answers. This is Pastor Jeff Short, your Bible teacher and cultural analyst. And today on the agenda, we have a Christian man, a young Christian man resisting temptation. The headlines in this story says, Christian Five Guys employees response to OnlyFans model sex proposition goes viral. So here is an example of a Christian man, young man, Christian guy doing the right thing. You know, we always hear about men doing the wrong thing in our society all the time, and you always hear the bad news. You know, there is no morality left. There's no Christian ethical standards left. It's all just, we live in a dog-eat-dog, law of the jungle, survival of the fittest mentality, and we hear that Christianity is in rapid decline and nothing's going right. Well, here is an example of something going right. Here is a young man, and this is exactly what the Bible talks about: resisting temptation, resisting sin, saying no to sin, standing with the Lord Jesus Christ, standing with the Bible, being on God's side. And this is a great example of it. So I thought I'd present this today as an encouragement that our society, our culture, has not gone totally off the deep end, not yet. And with the grace of God, we might actually see it turn around and go the other way toward God rather than down toward destruction. So let me get into the article and then I'll comment on it. This is actually a very good example of what the book of Proverbs talks about. It warns young men that this kind of woman will come into their life, and they need to be ready. They need to be prepared, and it looks like this young man and his parents did a very good job. So, and his church, shouldn't leave that out. And I don't know anything about him, but I can tell you that he stood on Christian moral principles in this situation. So let's get into this article. What is this about? It says Christian Five Guys. That's a restaurant. That's a hamburger restaurant. Five Guys Hamburger. And he is working behind the counter. Here's the guy here. Looks like a young man. He might be in his late teens, early 20s. Christian Five Guys employee responds to an OnlyFans model. This is evidently a OnlyFans model. I don't know if you are knowledgeable of OnlyFans. It's a very evil, sinful, wicked way that young women these days, in their early 20s, all the way up into their 30s, I guess there are some in their 40s, and also as young as their teenage years, they take their computer and they get a camera and they take video of themselves undressing and in very provocative poses, and then they charge people to join the live stream. So there are these guys, these simps, I would call them losers, who are desperate enough to watch women undress and watch women pose in different pornographic poses, and they're willing to pay money, put money down. And so these young women, some I guess as early as their teenagers, and then all the way up into their 40s, who are posing in front of their webcams and their video cameras and live streaming this to all of these losers, these simps who are just watching them, peeping Toms, and they're paying to peep at these girls. And these girls can get lots of money this way, thousands of dollars a week. The highest paid one are, I guess, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year they can rake in by simply being willing to expose themselves to complete strangers. And they think this is empowering. They think this is the feminist ideal. They're in control of their body. They're in control of their finances. They're working women. They're career girls, and they can do it from home. They can do it from their own bedroom. All they have to have is a computer and a halfway decent camera, a video camera that puts them out to the world. And anyone in the whole world that can access the internet can sign up to get on the OnlyFans and watch all of these different girls. And this is really taken mostly the Western nations by storm. And there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, even probably millions even, of women willing to prostitute themselves for money. Some more successful than others. But here is a OnlyFans called Models, which is a euphemism. She is an OnlyFans prostitute, let's call her. And she comes into this restaurant and she is recording this to try to put on her website to draw fans to her site. And she thought this was funny. She thought this was cute. She thought this was a prank. And she, as far as we know, she was fully intending to have sex with this random restaurant worker just for the publicity. So let me get into the article here. It says, a Five Guys employee has gone viral on social media for his response to a British OnlyFans model propositioning him while at work, citing his Christian faith as he waits until marriage for sex. So this is a fantastic example of exactly the way the Lord wants young men to handle themselves before they're married. And here is a perfect example of what the Proverbs talks about as a seductress. So let me just read chapter 7 of the Proverbs, a few passages. And let me set this up. It says, Proverbs 7 is a father's message to his son. He tells his son a story about a foolish young man who fell into the trap of a seductress and warns him not to do the same. It says, the father warns his son about the lethal powers of seductress. For many, this is a quote from Proverbs 26:27, for many are those she has struck dead, and numerous are her victims. Her house is a highway to hell, leading down to death's inner chambers. Proverbs 7, verses 26 and 27. So let me just read Proverbs 6 through 8 and gives you an understanding of the context of this situation in the modern world, that this young man right here resisted this seductress, this OnlyFans model. And so Proverbs 6 through 8 says, from the window of my house, through the lattice, I looked out and saw among the simple, noticed among the youths, a young man, a lad devoid of sense. He was crossing the streets near her, that is the seductress's home, walking toward her house. And then in verse 18 through 20, the seductress says, let us drink our fill of love till morning. Let us delight in amorous embrace. For the man of the house is away. He's off on a distant journey. He took his bag with money with him and will only return at mid-month. And then verse 22a says, thoughtlessly he followed her like an ox going to the slaughter. And then verse 26 through 27, for many are those she has struck dead, and numerous are her victims. Her house is a highway to hell, leading down to death's inner chambers. So Proverbs has this warning to young men over and over again. This is not the only passage that talks about young men needing to resist the temptation of the prostitute, the seductress, and now if we wanted to update the terminology, the OnlyFan, so-called model, OnlyFan model, which is another word for a prostitute. And the problem of OnlyFans is only growing, and it really needs to be addressed. I think churches need to talk about this, although they are reluctant. A lot of churches today are seeker sensitive. They don't want to offend anyone. They don't want to risk talking about subjects that might upset someone or be offensive or cause them to be angry. They want people like this woman here, the OnlyFans model, to attend the church. And then the theory is that over time she will open her heart to Jesus. Well, yes, you do want the sinners and the outcasts and the prostitutes and the OnlyFans models to attend the church, but you can't hold back telling the truth. But unfortunately, the churches today do not talk about these modern day developments like online prostitution that the OnlyFans industry is growing. And so it's just becoming more irrelevant as it fails to address these relevant issues. So OnlyFans is a bad place to be. These men who pay money to watch, and peeping toms to watch women undress, and then the models themselves, the temptresses, the prostitutes. These kinds of things need to be addressed in society, and Christians, we need to talk about them. Now, I never heard of this OnlyFans phenomenon until a couple of years ago when some of the online podcasters started talking about it, because there were some just outrageous things that were being reported about OnlyFans models. Now, it says the OnlyFans creator identified as Bonnie Blue, and this woman is one of the most sexually depraved people that I've ever heard of. Her goal, and she says that she's going to do this, her goal is she's going to try to sleep with 1,000 men in one day as a publicity stunt. So this is a prostitute of prostitutes. This is the most sexually depraved woman that you will run into. And she happens to, in this stunt, she happens to come to this restaurant, this hamburger joint, and this worker there is simply going about his business. He's taking customers' orders, and here comes this Bonnie Blue, the OnlyFans prostitute, walking in and approached the counter at the Five Guys branch and asked the employee on a recorded exchange. And she has a hidden microphone. This is a setup. Now, can you imagine what would have happened to this guy's life and reputation and character if he had accepted this? And I'm afraid to say, but it's true. A lot of guys his age, in his situation, would have easily accepted it. And then they would have been on YouTube and on video and internet and would have been embarrassed and disgraced themselves and would have had to live with that for the rest of their lives, because, as we know, whatever gets on the internet doesn't go away. It's there forever. And so this woman feels no compunction to walking right up to some victim, innocent victim, and ruining his life, evidently. So this is an evil woman. Bonnie Blue is her stage name, I guess. Approached the encounter of the Five Guys branch and asked the employee in a recorded exchange, "Where are the Five Guys from?" as seen on the video shared on X. So there is a video. I've seen one of the podcasters, I think it was Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire. He actually played the video, and you could see her trying to get him to follow her into sexual immorality. It's not enough that she is willing to sleep with 1,000 guys in one day to set a Guinness's World Book record and do a big publicity stunt and get a following and make a lot of money. It's not bad that she's willing to prostitute herself that way. She's recruiting other people, this young man, trying to corrupt this young man's life, and doing it in front of everyone on camera, willing to ruin his life, embarrass him for life. She then followed up by asking if he was on the menu, trying to be real clever, trying to be funny, trying to be provocative, promoting the worker to respond, "Huh?" So this guy is saying, what is this foolish woman talking about? Are you on the menu? What? She's trying to be a prostitute. She's trying to be a temptress. And Blue continued her inquiry, stating, "I don't know if it was like a special room or you can take me out back." The employee again expressed confusion, saying, "I don't know what's happening." Yeah, he's a normal person. He's an average guy. He's talking about, what are you saying, lady, crazy lady? What are you talking about? And Blue pressed further, asking, "Are you on it?" referring to the menu. The employee stated, "No, I'm not." She answered, "Oh, that's a shame." Okay, so again, this is all staged. This is all scripted. She's trying to be clever. She's trying to be really creative. It's all for a publicity stunt that she's going to put on the World Wide Web, the internet, and try to get a lot of views and make a lot of money through this, unbeknownst to this guy who's just trying to do his job. He is being tempted by a very evil temptress who is willing to destroy his life and embarrass him the rest of his life. And Blue proceeded to propose a meeting outside of work, saying, "What about after your shift? I mean, I'd want to give you, a good rating." The Five Guys worker replied, "I'm a Christian man and I'm waiting until marriage." Can you believe it? In the 21st century, in the immoral world we live in, the pornographic, disgusting, sex-saturated Hollywood and television, here is a Christian dude, an African-American Christian dude behind the counter willing to stand with Jesus and say no to sin. And he didn't know the context. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know that there was a camera and a microphone that's recording everything. He didn't know all of that. And yet he stood on Christian principles and said, "I am a Christian man and I'm waiting until Christian marriage." Now, I don't know anything about his background, but I can tell you one thing. That took a lot of courage. That took a lot of character. That took a lot of virtue. Because here is a woman throwing herself at you, and you're a young man, and if you're a normal, regular, heterosexual, normal, red-blooded male at this age, you are very attracted to women. And even though you're a Christian, you may be very much tempted by them because of the way they dress, by the way they act, by their behaviors to try to get you to do what they want. And here is a woman confronting him exactly the way the Proverbs chapter 7 was describing. And in the Proverbs, unfortunately, the young man was led astray. He was led astray by his desires, his lusts, and his willingness to go along with sin. But in this case, this guy did the right thing. And he said no. He said, "I'm a Christian man, and I'm waiting until marriage." I think every church, every pastor should give this guy as an example to the young people and say, look, you don't think it's possible to resist temptation? You don't think it's possible to walk the straight and narrow path? You don't think it's possible to live out the biblical moral examples? Here's a guy just going about doing his job. I don't know if he's going to college. I don't know if he's out of high school and he's taking his first job. We don't know any of the context. I don't know anything about his family life. I can almost guarantee you that he has a mother and a father in the home, because if you don't have a mother and father in the home, if you don't have two parents raising you and taking you to church and teaching you right from wrong, 9 times out of 10, you're going to give in to the temptation to sin. No question. And that's what's happening in all our major cities in the country, but even out in the suburbs and also out in the country. This secular immorality, relativistic, ethical behavior is taking hold. And so you have out-of-wed pregnancies, you have people living together before marriage, movies, television, all expressed, singles hooking up, having sex. It's in our culture, it's in the schools, it's in the universities, it's everywhere. And to have someone like this guy stand up and say, I am a Christian man and I'm waiting for marriage, that is really encouraging. I think it should be encouraging to all Christians. It should be especially encouraging to young people saying, hey, if he can resist sin, I can resist sin. And I think we should really congratulate this guy and give him the Man of the Year award. Now, the prostitute wasn't deterred. She said, Blue pressed further, asking, Are you on it? Referring to the menu. The employee stated, No, I'm not. And she answered, Oh, that's a shame. So she got turned down. And good for that guy. Turned her down. Said, Nope, not interested in a quick hookup with a woman who is a prostitute, obviously, is a brazen, unashamed, has no shame. And if only he knew her whole background. You know, this is the woman, again, that vowed to sleep with 1,000 men. I think she might have even done that by the time this is recorded. I don't know. She was inspired by another OnlyFans prostitute who had a goal of sleeping with 100 men in a day. And I think her name was Lily something or other. And so she actually did carry that out. This sick and perverted OnlyFans model, prostitute, hooker, whatever you want to call her, she actually carried it out. So this Bonnie Blue was inspired and says, oh, well, she's going to sleep with 100 men. I'm going to sleep with 1,000 men in one day. I'm going to break the record, smash the record. And as far as I know, she actually carried that out. And so this is depravity. This is depravity on full display. And here is a Christian guy that says, nope, not going to go along with that. Now, he didn't know the whole background of her. Probably thought, this crazy woman. And there are all kinds of practical reasons for him to not want to do that. If you're not a Christian, well, then why would you want to have sex with this woman and risk getting AIDS and chlamydia and gonorrhea and HPV and all the other sexually transmitted disease that are out there floating around and scar you for life? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to mess yourself up psychologically, emotionally? And then, of course, the most important, spiritually, why would you want to do this and disobey God and turn your back on Him and not follow Him? And the Bible is just full of passages all over the place, Old Testament and New Testament, that teach that marriage is the only place for sexual activity. Only place. And that's where this guy was thinking when he said, I'm a Christian and I'm waiting until marriage. Well, good for him. Now, it says the employee perspective surfaced on social media through a post on X by a user who goes by Ola. And he wrote, Bonnie Blue. Okay, so he had done some Googling and looking up. Recording me at work was not on my bingo card for this year. Here we are, I guess. The post has been viewed by 10 million times, 10 million people. So it just shows you that it is possible to stand for righteousness. It is possible to do the right thing in a mixed up world, in a messed up world. It's possible for Christian young people to say no to sin. And we should lift these people up that do say no to sin and say, good job. And we should also be aware of the fact that this OnlyFans phenomenon, which is not just the United States now, it's also in Britain. It's probably all over Europe now, where these girls can take off their clothes and put this all on video with a webcam and make money. They can just stay in their home, stay in their bedroom, lay in their bed, and take off their clothes and broadcast this over the internet on the one side of a paywall and say, okay, if you want to look at me, you have to pay 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And this is so disgusting, this OnlyFans approach, is that they can then get messages from guys who want to see more, and they can say, okay, well, if you want to see more, then you're going to have to pay more. And so they have what they call private sessions. I've never looked at these OnlyFans videos. I have no intention of ever doing that. That is pornography. I stay clear of pornography. I don't want my mind polluted, and I don't want my emotions and feelings corrupted to be drawn to that. Because again, the book of Proverbs talks about don't follow the prostitute. That means basically don't follow them in a Playboy magazine, don't follow them in a Hustler magazine or Penthouse. In the old days, they used to have the pornographic magazines on the shelves, and people would go in there and buy these things. I think they had laws that you had to be 18 or 20 years old to do that. But nowadays, it's so easy to just go online, and young people of pretty much any age. I mean, I think there are even ways of getting around the age restrictions. Young men in their high school or junior high years can actually open an account on OnlyFans and get access to this and borrow money or use a credit card to get to pay some OnlyFans model to take off her clothes for you. And some of these patrons, these simps, these voyeurs, these peeping toms, they're willing to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars just to look at certain women who they find highly attractive and just act like fools and encourage these women to take off their clothes and pay them good money to do so. So this is corrupting our younger generations. This is a new phenomenon. This was never possible before the age of the internet. It's only been happening. I think the OnlyFans phenomenon has only been happening in the last 5 to 10 years. Actually, only the last 5 years has it really taken off. And there was pornography on the internet since the beginning, since the start of it. But that phenomenon has only grown. And so this is the latest option of the pornography industry. And it's a shame because it's actually corrupting a lot of young women, especially college-age students who want to make it through college. College costs are going up. So they're saying, hey, I'll take a part-time job as an OnlyFans model and pull in, hundreds of dollars a month or even thousands of dollars a month to do this. But they're selling their soul to do this, and it's not worth it. So I thought I'd just report on that, and we need to thank God that there are Christian young people like this young man who is willing to stand up and say, no, I'm a Christian, and I'm saving myself for marriage. I'm not interested in your proposition. So praise God for that. Well, we'll see you back next week. God bless.